This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
To Nashville we go now, and the Tennessee Titans, who were bottom of the pile in the division yet again, Ciaran, last year. They got Cam Ward for their troubles, having been the worst team in the NFL the previous season. They picked 4 again this year, so they're in the top 5 again, which puts them in the market for pretty much anything that they want to do. And, you know, that 4th overall pick is going to tell us something. It's going to set a tone here, because it's which poison they want to pick here. I can't remember who said it to us when we were at Radio Row, but great quote about, if you want to help your young quarterback, don't give him a weapon, give him a defense. They could take Arvell Reese, they could take Sonny Styles, they could have their pick of that top-class edge rushing talent if they want, or they may decide to go for the sexy pick and take Jeremiyah Love to give a running game to Cam Ward.
Well, speaking of Cam Ward, if we remember his infamous quote at Week 5, let's keep it a buck right now, we ass. And that's what the Titans were last year. They were a whole steaming pile of ass. No two ways about it. 14. That was a real rough season for the Titans. I mean, nice changes. I mean, bringing in Dable and Robert Saleh, Borgonzi, 15 years with the Chiefs. I mean, he knows how to build a roster. So the only issue is it won't be this year. The only thing in their favor is I think they have up to, I think it's $90 million in cap space. I mean, Borgonzi is like Ted DiBiase right now, just waving the dollar bills around because they've got a whole bunch of cash right now. But the problem is there's not going to be a huge amount of kind of progress made this year.
For younger listeners, Ted DiBiase was the $1 million man, if you want to check your wrestling history.
Yes. Here comes the money. Oh, that was Shane O'Mac. So yeah, free agent pickups. I mean, they got Wan'Dale Robinson, quite active in free agency. They got Bellinger. They got all those old Giants. What do they need in the draft? Like you said, defense would probably be the sensible pick. But for me, all signs are pointing towards Jeremiyah Love. I mean, it's a couple of factors at play. You have a brand new stadium opening. The ownership wants asses and seats, and they want people spending money on $15 beers, and they want people bringing the family and the friends. So it's Jeremiyah Love is a sexy pick. He's a phenomenal athlete. I can't see the Titans going anywhere but him at 4. Yes, Reese will be there, and Styles will be there, and Carnell Tate will be there, and a whole bunch of other people. But the running back market was rejuvenated when Saquon got that giant contract. It wasn't too long ago that people were saying the running back position is dead. I know that Genty didn't really light it up in Vegas, but he had no help around him. I think with the kind of additions that the Titans have made at O-line, and they're not done yet because they're definitely going to address it in the draft, but there's more around Cam Ward than there was this time last year, even a couple of months ago. I mean, I saw them against the Jags, and there was nothing out there. I mean, Cam Ward was injured in the first play. I think they brought Will Allen in. I can't remember if it was him, a quarterback, but DK, Iomanor, it's not a star-studded roster, and they didn't put on a great performance. Jeffrey Simmons is probably their best-known player right now, but they did pick up some nice free agents. They need everything. I mean, the Titans need everything. You can't really pinpoint one thing that they need. They need help everywhere, probably excluding quarterback, but then again, I think they got, I can't remember who the backup was they picked up. But I mean, they can go in any direction. They could go Francis Mauinoa from Miami. They could go him at 4. They could go Tyson or Tate, a wide receiver. They could go Styles or Reese at 4. But I think I think the GM is point towards, let me get Jeremiyah Love, phenomenal athlete. He had nearly 1,400 rushing yards with Notre Dame last year, 3 receiving touchdowns, 280 receiving yards. So he's kind of that dual. You think of Saquon and how good his hands are and in the receiving game. I'm not comparing Jeremiyah Love with Saquon, but there's a lot of similarities there in his skill set. I mean, he had 200 carries last year. I mean, that's just an absolute workhorse, and you don't have to go far on YouTube to see the highlights from him. So, I've looked at it and I just really can't see. I mean, Love will be there at 4, and I just don't think the Titans can pass it up. I think it's too sweet a pick and too big a name to pass up in the draft.
Shane, this is a great market. It's a great fan base. It's one that's crying out for stars. To quote that beautiful, underrated movie Stardust, what the stars do, they shine. The Titans have the draft capital to get themselves a star here. Jeremiyah Love would be pretty much one of the brightest shining from the college game.
Yeah, very much so. And that's the thing. I'm coming into this off season and trying to figure out what teams are in position to make a move based on where they were last season. I think the Tennessee Titans are in a pretty good position to move forward for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, you look at what they've done in free agency. They've decided to spend. They've brought in players that both Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh are used to working with. And some people are saying, well, is this basically, New York City posse coming down, a guy I never seen, to quote Wayne Jennings, down to Nashville, trying to rekindle things. But actually, you look at what they need in Tennessee right now. They need to work with people that you're used to working with, to try and build a culture, try and build consistency, because one of the biggest problems I've had over the last 5 years is retention of talent, and it just ruins any form of consistency, of culture, of identity. Identity is, of course, a big thing that the Titans have built into now with the new crest, the new stadium coming down the line, the new jerseys. It's feeling very fresh right now in Tennessee, which I think is a good thing. And I think they're going to try and move that into the draft. We look at what Jeremiyah Love offers, and Ciaran was given the Saquon Barkley comparisons. Look what Saquon Barkley was able to do, while Brian Daboll was able to run that offense in his first year in New York. That's a pretty good comparison to bring into a system, and a bit of star power as well that we need. I know people are looking and saying, well, what does Cam Ward need right now? Maybe he needs a defense. I trust Robert Saleh to be able to coach up some pretty good picks from the 3rd, 4th, 5th round in that defense to add into all of the free agency picks that they brought in there as well. Let the top talent from this draft go to that offense to try and build up. The template is already there. This is actually spelled out by a writer in the Nashville Tennessean. So credit to Nick Suss. This isn't necessarily my work, but he said that there is a template that of the last 8 teams who have picked a running back in the top 10 of the draft, 6 of them have gone for offensive lineman then as a rounder. Considering that how high they're picking in the second round, 35 overall, going for Jeremiyah Love as 4th overall, brings in the star power, brings in the rushing, brings in everything that Tennessee necessarily didn't have. Because look, Tony was able to get some pretty good runs at certain moments, but it wasn't consistent enough. Imagine what you can do with a young running back, a new face of the franchise. The franchise is moving forward with Cam Ward, with the regenerated offensive line, with a much better coaching staff in play. I think it's all there. Plus, you add that to improvements in the offensive line from the second round and a 3rd round pick, then you start building up that defense. All the building blocks are there for by the end of this season. I'm not saying this is necessarily going to be a hot start, but by November, December, we can see a much better put together squad, a squad that's playing with purpose, a squad that's playing with unity, and that's familiar with each other, familiar with their scheme, and has a true Tennessee Titans identity to bring forward into the new era of the stadium. And I think Jeremiyah Love is going to be a huge, huge part of that. Why not go for the sexy thing? Even whether you're trying to get bums and seats or you're just trying to win games, running backs are becoming incredibly important. We see elsewhere in this division what happens if you don't have a necessarily strong running game, or in Indianapolis' case, if you have a run game that completely explodes, it can bring you in a position where you genuinely believe you can win the Super Bowl. Why not learn from that, push forward, and pick Jeremiyah Love? I think Jeremiyah Love could be a real game changer in Tennessee. I know the Ashton Jeanty comparison probably doesn't fully tie up, because that Raiders team last year were, they were in an awkward transition, didn't have the right head coach. The offensive line was so bad that Jeanty got tackled behind the line of scrimmage more than any other running back in the league. I don't see that happening this year with whoever's running back in Tennessee, and I think Jeremiyah Love will be a great pick to go into that situation.
Brian, having talked up how it's quite likely that the Titans could go for the sexy pick, it remains to be seen what sort of influence Robert Saleh will have on how this draft unfolds as a defensive-minded head coach, as a coach who did a magnificent job with the 49ers last year with like a whole bunch of players down as they were across the roster, but they were hit particularly bad on the defensive side. They could invest heavily on the defense and they could build from there, and that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to do.
I agree with you, Conor, because I just think it's going to be one of those situations on draft night. Can he hold it together to allow the GM to select the running back when he sees these fantastic defensive players that are going to be available from? It's going to be Bailey, Reese, Sonny Styles, and you can only imagine Robert Saleh would be loving the option to get his hands on one of those players and help him, build a culture defensively to bring this team back. Because even when the Titans were challenging a couple of years ago, even when Vrabel was there, a lot of it was down also to the fact that they had a really strong and stellar defense. Excuse me. It's a unique one as well, Conor. Like, you look at their draft board, they've got a selection in every round, and not many teams you can have an abundance of draft picks in various different rounds. They actually have consistency, top end of each round, and then 2 picks in the 5th and 6th. So they've got an opportunity to put it back together defensively. This for me is where the draft starts. We know kind of give or take what's going to happen for 2nd and 3rd. 2 and 3, it's more a case of, is it Bailey, is it Reese? 4 is ultimately where everyone thinks is going to start, because the domino effect thereafter, they don't take Love. Do the Giants take him at 5? Is that even too rich for the New York Giants at 5? And we go from there. Commanders want Love. There's a lot of questions that are going to be asked, but for me, it starts at 4. I still think they may surprise and lean on the defense to get them back challenging it within the division.
And you raised a point about them having quite a number. They've 9 draft picks overall. It's one of the great truisms of drafting, and I'm crediting Conor for unearthing this one in looking at drafts over the last sort of 10, 15 years. And the teams that draft well draft often. They don't trade their picks. Like, you look at teams like the Packers, the Ravens, they invest their draft capital in actually making the picks themselves, not trading them, hoping that they can bring in a veteran or lure somebody who's going to perform now. They invest the resources because it's a volume game ultimately. Like, if a GM gets 2 out of every 5 draft picks to hit, they're doing well. The best way to make sure that you have a lot of good guys coming through the draft is to keep making your picks and keep to a consistent strategy. If the Titans can start doing that with this draft, that might set them on the right course. Absolutely.
Look, every year we see 2 or 3 teams that rebound very quickly who've been selecting in the top 5, top 10. If they hit on 3 of 4 of those draft picks, and they're immediately impacting the team on the rookie contracts.
That's what the Seahawks did. You look back to that draft where they got Devin Weatherspoon and Jackson Smith-Njigba, or the previous one where they hit on 3 or 4 defensive players. That was the bedrock for that Super Bowl winning team.
And Shane's alluded to the free agency cap space that's coming down the line again next year. So why can't they not quickly turn things around? It's going to be interesting to see how Robert Saleh, this was the pressure in NFC may not be at the level in which it was when he was coaching the Jets, and he's also brought in some familiar faces who've also experienced different environments, who've been under pressure, i.e. Dable as well in New York. So maybe Tennessee suits their dynamic to go in there and turn this team around. I mean, what's the expectations for this team? 4 or 5 wins? 6, 7? Is it on offense they're getting them? Or so there? It didn't go there. I should have. My son would have been disappointed with me. 6 or 7 victories may be enough for this Titans team next year. It's going to be an interesting division come next season.
Well, every year there's at least one team that goes from worst to first. Why couldn't it be the Tennessee Titans? Check out our draft previews for all other 32 NFL teams wherever you get your podcasts.